Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll quickly whip through some definitions of economics that have been offered throughout the history of the discipline. Let's start with a gentleman who is commonly regarded as the father of economics, although that's not strictly speaking true, Adam Smith, who in 1776 wrote an extremely famous book, The Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations, and in that he said that economics, although it wasn't called economics at that time, it was called political economy, he said economics is, the purpose of it is to provide a plentiful revenue or subsistence for the people, or more properly, to enable them to provide such a revenue or subsistence for themselves, and secondly, to supply the state or commonwealth with a revenue sufficient for the public services that wouldn't be provided by people themselves. It proposes to enrich both the people and the sovereign. In 1803 we have Jean-Baptiste Say, who very succinctly puts it this way: economics is the science that treats the production, distribution and consumption of wealth. And wealth here doesn't mean money. Wealth means goods and services and resources available to a nation. Next we have, in 1844, John Stuart Mill, who's the last of the great political economists of the 19th century. And he wrote that economics is about studying the accumulation of wealth and employing that wealth in the production of other wealth, sanctioning by mutual agreement the institution of property, establishing laws to prevent individuals from encroaching upon the property of others by force or fraud, adopting various contrivances for increasing the productiveness of their labour, settling the division of the produce by agreement under the influence of competition, and employing certain expedients, such as money, credit, etc., to facilitate the distribution. By 1890, and then moving into the 20th century, we get Alfred Marshall. And Alfred Marshall is the first of the economists to stop using the term political economy and to start using the term economics instead. And he says economics is simply a study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. It examines that part of individual and social action which is most closely connected with the attainment and with the use of material requisites of well-being. That's what economics is for him. In 1919, we've got a gentleman here named Walton Hamilton. He's from the United States, and he thinks of economics as something slightly different, where there's a greater focus on institutions. He says economics is a study of the conventions, customs, habits of thinking, and modes of doing which make up the scheme of arrangements which we call the economic order. It must set forth in their relations one to another the institutions which together comprise the organization of modern industrial society. So it's about the study of the relationships between the institutions which make up the society, in particular a modern industrial society. Then in the 1930s, we've got Lionel Robbins, who's another famous economist from the London School of Economics, and he succinctly puts it this way: economics is the science which studies human behaviour as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. So this is a definition which is extremely broad. It covers almost all kinds of individual human behaviour. In the 1960s, we have this gentleman here, Samuelson, one of the most famous economists of the second half of the 20th century, attempting to synthesize all of these definitions which have gone before. Economics is the study of how people and society end up choosing, with or without the use of money, to employ scarce productive resources that could have alternative uses to produce various commodities over time, and distributing them for consumption, now or in the future, amongst various persons or groups in society. It analyzes costs and benefits of improving patterns of resource allocation. So here we've got this notion of there's the scarce resources that can be used in alternative ways to produce goods and services for consumption now or in the future, that are then distributed in some way to people or groups in society. And we can think of ways of analysing that to improve it, thinking up the costs and the benefits of changing the system. Here's your textbook's definition. Now, the textbook for this semester is by Frank, Jennings and Bernanke, and it is titled Principles of Microeconomics. It is available to see online via the Views website, going to Readings and Resources, and you can read it there. You can alternatively buy a physical copy if you like, but the online copy is available for free to look at and read and take notes from. Make sure you take notes. Anyway, they say that economics is they've got two definitions actually. Economics is the study of how people make choices in situations where having more of one good thing involves having less of some other good thing. So it's about making choices where you've got scarce resources or limited means available to you. So you're forced to choose between alternatives that you want both of. Another definition that they offer is that it's the study of how people make choices under conditions of scarcity and of the results of those choices for the society. So the second definition is really implicit in the first definition. So there are lots of definitions available. There's no one single definition. In fact, if you go and crack open a whole bunch of different first year economics textbooks, or any economics textbook, you'll find a definition there that is not identical to other definitions in other textbooks. So just for my own personal amusement, here's my definition for now of economics. I'm saying that economics is the study, well, hopefully the scientific study, of the utilization of limited resources, nature, humans, machines, to produce goods and services that are used for consumption or investment or innovation. Investment here means that the goods and services are used for the production of more goods and services in the future. This entails the study of the agents, such as workers, entrepreneurs, regulators. Incidentally, all of them are consumers. And the institutional arrangements, such as markets, laws, culture, governing the production process and the distribution of the income generated by that production process. The discipline can be used to inform policy initiatives to improve society, which of course means that there's going to be political debate, because there isn't necessarily agreement on what constitutes improving a society. In addition to the fact that there are people who are not so much interested in improving society at all, but rather interested in improving their own lot, perhaps at the expense of society.